Closed qualifiers are over and rosters are locked, which means it's time for another season of the Dota Pro circuit. A lot has changed since last season, so to get you up to date, here's a quick update video running through all the teams, new and returning players for each of the teams in the North American Dota Pro circuit. We'll start off in the upper division with Team Evil Geniuses, long considered the dominant team in the region. Evil Geniuses made a lot of interesting moves this offseason, starting off with the fact that they lost longtime 5 position and captain Fly, as well as dynamic offlaner Ice. However, to replace these players, they gained Nightfall from Virtus Pro, and in probably some of the biggest news of this year's offseason, brought in Jerax, the former 4 position for OG, who has not played since he retired after OG's second international win at TI9. Nightfall and Jerax are joined by returning players Abed in the mid lane, Crit, and RTZ. Let's take a look at Quincy Crew, who has been second in the region over the past year. However, they went through some big changes since TI, keeping only Yuar and Quinn, but gaining Kezu from Viking GG, and Milan and Ponlo, both from Creepwave. So a couple of strong European players who will be joining Quincy Crew and hoping to keep them at the top of the North American circuit. It's a totally different story though for Undying, a team that really came into its own over the past season, becoming a strong contender for the top 3 in the North American DPC. And they're sticking together. All 5 of their players are remaining on the team, which would be Saberlight, Bryle, Moon Meander, Tomato, and Dubu. They're looking to show that by hopefully sticking together, they can contend with these top teams that have shaken things up and may need some time to gel everything together. Next up we have Foresaken, a team that has been consistently promising but still in the middle of the pack in the North American DPC. They're also keeping 2 players, keeping Gunner and Husky from last year's roster, while gaining Z-Freak, who last played for Simply 2 Based, Moo, who last played for J-Storm several years ago, and Costabile, who played for SG Esports in the South American DPC. Hopefully with these new additions, they can challenge the top 3 in the division, enter the conversation as representatives of North America on the international scene. Speaking of Simply 2 Based, they also went through major shakeups, only keeping Empyrean and Flea. However, they gained Oli, aka Boros, Little Nick, and Royoya, who all played for lower tier teams in Division 1 or Division 2 in last year's DPC. This year, they're looking to prove they have what it takes to stay in the upper division, especially players like Little Nick, whose team got relegated from the upper division this past season. A similar story is Black and Yellow, who are keeping only Zero and Jubei from last year. Instead, they're picking up High Shaggy, aka Shaggy, from Team Arkosh, where he played under the tag Canis Vulpus, and Rises and Dunhai from Ego Boys to a South American roster. So we're seeing a trend here. North American teams picking up players from South America. We'll see how this works out for Black and Yellow. This brings us to the 2 teams who received promotion from the lower division last season. Starting with D2 Hustlers, who are basically just a completely new roster. They're keeping Devi Lama, but otherwise, the 4 players who will be playing with him are new to the team. And those would be Alex, aka Alexo, who last played for Creepwave in Western Europe, Yves, aka Yamsun from Black and Yellow, Sammy Boy from Foresaken, and Esk, also from Black and Yellow. So 1 new face to the North American scene, as well as a couple older faces. Hopefully this reshuffle will allow D2 to stay in the upper division this year, which brings us to fan favorite team Arkosh, which is of course the team owned and managed by Sir Action Slacks. They're keeping 3 players, so a little more continuity than some of these other lower division teams that got promoted, keeping Pale Horse, Crow, and Gremlo, while gaining Foresaken Oracle and Monkey, who, based on some digging, appear to be Monkeys Forever, who last played for Simply 2 Based, and Kyle, yes, that Kyle, the analyst and caster, who last played competitively for Complexity in 2018. He'll be hoping to flex his muscles on Arkosh and have another shot at competitive Dota in the upper division of the DPC. Let's now take a look at the lower division, starting with The Cut, one of the 2 teams that was relegated from the upper division last season. Like many other teams on this list, they're only keeping 2 players, in this case Scourge McDuck and Pengu. To replace the players they've lost, they're gaining DNM from Black and Yellow, Giant, formerly for Electronic Boys, and Kits, who appears to have not played competitively before this team. Hopefully with this new roster, they can retake their place in the upper division. Also relegated with them was Team Dogchamp, who are one of the most stable lineups in the lower division, keeping 4 players, Rayla Lisa, Luki Luki, Yaren, and Bloody Nine, and only gaining Stonebank to replace Creep, who had to return home to his native country. Stonebank has not appeared to have played very much professional Dota before, but he is becoming part of a pretty stable and decently strong roster, so hopefully Dogchamp can also prove that they have what it takes with this new addition to play again in the upper division. Also in the lower division, staying from last season, is Felt, who are keeping Solya, who played last year under the tag Tay, and Zor. They are joined by Steelboroko, Wake Me Up, and Komart, who did play with the team in the past, but not in this past season. Hopefully these new additions will help Felt to improve, and perhaps win a spot in the upper division. Electronic Boys had a pretty disappointing season last year, and so they have a pretty complete overhaul, only keeping the player Speed from last season and gaining Oklahoma, Murdoch, Bika, and Albino Zebra 1, none of whom have a lot of professional Dota experience up to this point. Manminus, however, has a different story, being relatively stable, keeping RRL, Ray, and Lies, and gaining Bolo, aka White, and Little Boy, who last played for Infinity in the South American upper division of the DPC. Hopefully with Little Boy joining their roster, he can provide some experience and help the team improve in this next season. Those are all the teams that are stayed from last year. Now, there was some drama after TI involving Team Bumblebee, and that team ended up being disqualified because of roster shenanigans. I won't go into the details here, but that meant that there were 3 slots actually available in the lower division of the North American DPC up for grabs this year. The first of the 3 teams that ended up grabbing those slots was KBU.US. Now, this team played in the qualifier as Team Teletubbies. It's composed of Dad, Thana, Ionilite, the Warden, MRR Tourist, aka Sunlight. This appears to be a stack that is formed around Ionilite, who last played for 2-Based last year, and they were pretty dominant throughout the qualifiers, which is perhaps why they were able to sign with KBU, which is an organization from the CIS region originally. Perhaps Sunlight is the reason why this stack was able to connect with KBU, since he is a player originally from the Eastern European region, but I can't say for sure. KBU hasn't had much success as an organization over the years, but perhaps with this roster formed around a pretty solid player in Annihilate, they can potentially climb over the course of the season. The second team to qualify out of the closed qualifiers is a similar sort of team, a stack formed around Tingle King, who last played for the Cut. He is joined by the 4 players Overlum, Italiano Gangster, Nico, aka Red 2, and B-God. And finally, there is Team Magnus, a team that clawed their way through the closed qualifiers in some pretty crazy long games and 5-game series. On Wikipedia, the team is listed as Jack, Sakata, Gintoki, Mark, TXHU1, and Chinny. They have definitely proved that they want to be in this DPC. And hopefully that strong desire and the teamwork they showed in the closed qualifiers will also help carry them through the next season. And that's all the teams that are competing in both the upper and lower division of this year's Dota Pro Circuit. Games start in just a couple of days, and we'll be looking to bring you weekly updates on all the matches happening in the North American DPC. So if you'd like to catch all the videos, hit the subscribe button in order to be notified. Until next time, good luck, have fun.